Okay. We frame this into your website and immediately give the customer the option, would you like us to pick your vehicle up or would you like to bring your vehicle in? Now, if they select we pick your vehicle up, all the parameters around the setup of your pickup and delivery fall into place here. So if you only provide pickup and delivery within 5 miles, 20 miles, 50 miles, then all those things are going to start to take shape as the customer's building out their appointment, or they have the option to bring it in. So depending on which one they select, we're going to take them through a very specific workflow. I'm going to start with the we pick your vehicle up. We're going to ask them immediately, where would you like us to pick your vehicle up? Okay, so for the sake of this demonstration, I'm just going to use a Starbucks. And, there's one on every corner. So you can see we can search by business name, or you can type in a physical address. Either one works. When the customer makes that selection, the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to, and it didn't like my connection there. The very first thing we're going to do is check to see if that Starbucks falls within our radius for pickup and delivery. So if we're in a 5-mile radius, 10-mile radius, whatever you decide as your radius for pickup and delivery, that's what we're checking. If we fall within that radius, then we're going to get started with the appointment. If we don't, we're going to ask the customer to bring the vehicle in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. We never will require the customer to have a username or password. There's way too many of those in the world today, and I, for one, can't keep up with them. So the way we validate the customer and verify their identity is we ask for their mobile number or their email address. That customer would enter that in. Once it's entered in, we're actually going to send that over to the Automate system, and we're going to ensure that number, in my case, number resides in the Automate system. If it does, the customer will receive a text notification with a 6-digit code where they would confirm their identity. Okay. I put in my phone number, pinged the Automate system, came back and said, oh yes, this is a customer, sent the text message, I entered it in, and this in fact is my example, Kim Walton, email address, phone number, and the vehicles that she owns. You'll notice she can add another vehicle if she wants to, but as part of what we do with our appointment tool, everything is about simplicity. We want it to be very quick and very easy so the customer gets the appointment into the system and then they can move on about their day. We don't want them spending a ton of time resetting passwords or you're trying to discern what a LOF is or anything of that nature. So from here, what we would do is we would select the vehicle that we want to have worked on. We'd plug in the mileage, and when I'm referring to the we, that's the customer. Okay, so I'm going to put in arbitrary mileage, and now we get into the details of what you'd like us to do. So in this case, I may come in because my check engine light is on. Okay, I just simply type in what my issue is, and then we're going to provide other details here below of other options or upsell opportunities that we have for that customer. So check engine light is on. I can see we have 6 different recalls for this vehicle. If I click anywhere on that line, they all display, and then I can simply just select the ones that I want by clicking the box. The recommended maintenance would be, in this case, I'm using a Lincoln as an example, but in your case, if a Ford vehicle would be the Ford recommended maintenance schedule. And then other services would be all the dealer-defined operations. So anything that you want to promote or solicit or common services that you provide, seasonal items, whatever it is you'd like to have in here, we can add in here. We actually will pull those out of the Automate system and utilize the ones you have. I'm sorry?
Oh, Brad just stuck his head in and asked if Davin is on the call. I said, yes, he is at his desk.
Okay. So you do have the option of whether you want to provide the recalls, for the customer to see, or the recommended maintenance for the customers to see, or if you'd like them to only see your options, you can do that. It's totally up to you. Now, as we go through and we have a check engine light, that's a pretty much a diagnostic type of request initially. So what we're going to do is we're going to tie that to a diagnostic opcode, where we know the diagnostic opcode will take roughly, let's say, 1.2 hours, to go through. That's the billable time. Maybe it's an hour, maybe it's half an hour. But all that's tied to what you have in Automate. And what we're going to do is, as we go through and the customer selects different items here, either from a recall perspective or a maintenance perspective, they're all individually tied back to the opcodes that you use today. And in those opcodes, it should have the average time it takes to complete, and we're going to use that as the means for your capacity of your shop. Okay. Now, in this, I'm just going to select this check engine light because I want to show you what this looks like when we check in the customer. But from here, my only issue right now is I want my check engine light reviewed. We're getting into the details of the appointment now. So originally I set out to have my vehicle picked up. If I choose to, I can change my mind and bring the vehicle into the shop. Okay, everything I've done prior to this stays the same. The check engine light is still in there, all my customer information, nothing has to change there. But I'm going to have my vehicle, I'm going to bring my vehicle in. We will ask what type of transportation needs the customer has. So do they have their own transportation? Are they going to be a waiter? You can limit the number of waiters that you have either per hour, per day. Or I would assume that Lyft is not available in your area. So we could have that one removed. Maybe you have your own shuttle van and you will need, they will request a ride in the shuttle van. We can have them flag that as well. If you have access to any loaners, we can limit the number of loaners per day so we can control how many loaners get promised on a daily basis. And then if Lyft is not available in your area, we would not include rideshare. So the point here, these 5 options are all customizable by you. And then the last advisor that customer worked with would default in. So we can go and change it. We can have it go in as a round robin of all your advisors, and the first available one gets picked. However you'd like to do it, and the setups we can accommodate. So based on the check engine light that we have, the customer bringing the vehicle in, let's say they're going to wait for the vehicle itself. You'll notice the screen refresh because it went through the capacities to see if I could accommodate a waiter and when. Here are all the available times that we have, anything in white. So I can get to people as early as tomorrow. We're closed on Sunday, and then Monday we're open. But notice over here on Friday, Rex is off, so he's not available. If I change this to say Jake, then Friday will open up and we have availability on Friday. Okay, so a number of things there. As the customer, I would simply select the date that I want and the time. And once I select that, I'm able to move on. But I'm going to go back because I originally selected we pick your vehicle up. And this changes things a little. So if I select back to we pick your vehicle up, I will have to re-enter my pickup location. And I only have to re-enter it because I selected to bring my vehicle in to show you during this demonstration. Then we're looking for any instructions of the driver. So if there are any apartment complexes that your customers live in, is the best example where I'll have a gate code. We can go ahead and have the customer enter the gate code, and we'll pass that to the driver through the driver app when they execute the service pickup. Does your vehicle have a manual transmission? If it does, we may have only one driver that can accommodate a manual transmission and one that can't. So that limits our capacity. So we want to be very specific here. And if it is a manual transmission, we want the customer to select that. And then what type of transportation do they need? Do they need a loaner or request a loaner? Again, we can limit that, or they have their own transportation. From there, we're going to populate the first available dates and times that we have for a service pickup. We can actually get to one today at 5:15 based on where the proximity of that customer to the store everything that we have to do to prep for it, and so forth. But let's just go out and say we're going to schedule this appointment for next Thursday at 9:15, and that will be the time that we arrive at the customer's location to pick the vehicle up. Okay, we hit the next button. Now we're in the quick confirmation. The customer can go through and confirm everything they've done, agree to terms and conditions, which are your terms and conditions, and agree to text messages, and then we book the actual appointment.
Now, not all dealerships are participating with the loaner program. I mean, I know we in fact don't have enough loaners to do that with.
Yep. So we can turn that off, and the customer would not see any request for a loaner.
Okay.
Good question. So once the customer has booked that appointment, they immediately have the ability to cancel or edit. They will also receive a text notification and an email confirming the appointment, so that they have another means to go in and either cancel it or edit it if they need to. We'll notify whoever within the store you'd like notified. If it's the advisor, we'll send an email notification to the advisor. And then if it's a service pickup, we send it out for the drivers to see in the driver app on the pickup and delivery side. And it automatically moves over to the pickup and delivery piece. Nothing you have to do there.
Okay.
Okay. So from here, now my appointment time was on January the 19th. I'm going to go back into the system now. And this is the RedCap dashboard that you may be familiar with, may have pulled it up and seen it already. And you have access to our two-way text messaging, our transportation piece. But I'm going to go over to the appointment piece and just click on appointments. And the system will refresh. There it goes. And what you're looking at here is a live dealer. It's the same dealer I pulled up before. This is Coons Ford Falls Church. This is what their appointments look like today. All right, so it's refreshing. They do quite a lot of appointments. It will list out each of the appointments in a list format. And I'm going to close some of these. I don't know if that's my issue. There we go. So we can see, on an hourly basis, where our appointments are and who's coming in, who they're assigned to. As the advisor, I can go into this and I can only select mine if I choose to. So I want to go in and I want to see all of John's. Right, here are all John's appointments for the day. Makes it easier for them to manage. Now I'm going to go back into my test site here and select my department. And I'll explain that in just a moment. And I'm going to just jump over to the 19th. And here's the appointment I just created. Okay, so on this appointment, all the basic information around the customer, their contact information, who the advisor is, the status of the appointment, what type it is, are they bringing the vehicle in, are we picking it up, does it include a loaner, no loaner, and who actually booked that appointment. So in this case, it was by the consumer. I've got some quick actions here where I can go into the appointment and mark them as arrived, check them in, mark them as canceled or no-showed. Okay, without having to go into the details. If I want to look at the details, easy enough. I click on that line and now I'm in the details. And you'll notice once we're in the details of the appointment, off to the right is the actual text communications that we've had with that customer. So let's assume this customer didn't show up on time and they're 20 minutes late. I can easily go into the appointment and I can text the customer, sorry, I missed you. Are you still able to come in today, or do we need to reschedule? And that customer may reply with something like, sorry, I was running late for work. I had to get into work. I couldn't get the vehicle by there, or I had to leave earlier than expected and I missed the driver, whatever the case may be. I would like to reschedule. Now I'm in the appointment. It's easy for me to click edit and go in and look for an available time and then text that over to the customer. Okay, so I'm not having to play phone tag all day trying to get them on the phone and coordinate, that appointment time.
Okay.
Now, to add an appointment from here, very similar to the transportation piece in the top right corner. I just hit the plus new button. Your store will default in. I've got access to a few stores. So we're going to ask immediately, put the customers, give us the customer name and information. We're going to ping that against Automate. Here's a list of all those customers. In this case, I'll select a different customer. I'll pull me this time. You'll see that the look and feel is a little bit different, but really close to being the same. All the customer information, including the VIN number, odometer, I would just simply plug in. Once I do that, the recommended maintenance will appear. But as we saw before, I've got all the recalls, recommended maintenance, and common services, which were called dealer services before, are now listed. Okay, and this is fully customized by you, and it can include prices or not. So one of the things I think is in the Ford program is they want you to have pricing on certain operations, and I forget what the big operation is or the most common operation is, but they want you to have at least a starting at price. We can accommodate that in our system. So it makes you compliant from that perspective. And then any new items here, these would be the opcode lookups that we would go do.
That's for each of those services that you need that?
No, they have a handful of services, is my understanding.
That are required to have a starting at price?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And I forget what they call it, but it's like it's like an oil change, tire rotation. I forget what they call it, but I can get that from the Ford folks for you if need be. So from here, I can add any new items, any opcodes, if I need to put in a diagnostic, or if I'm mechanical, whatever opcode I need to utilize on from Automate to pull over, and then we'll push it back into Automate. I can do so. All right, so let's just say in this case, I'm just going to do a common service here, and I'm going to do my best package. Okay, you'll notice all the detail here, including the time estimate. So this is a 2-hour job. Okay, I'm going to uncheck this and go to the next screen. We get into the appointment details. Again, looks very similar to what we looked at before, but here we get into the department codes. By chance, do you have a quick service center?
No.
Okay.
No.
Do you offer mobile repair?
We will be.
Okay. So here's where you would have your main department, which would be your main shop, and then we would set up a department for your mobile repair, because it's going to be different parameters. I can't get to an appointment every 15 or 30 minutes on my mobile van like I can in my shop with my advisors, right? So we want to set up different parameters. So we would actually create basically departments to help you with those parameters. And if someone said, I want a mobile lube oil filter, then it's by selecting mobile lube oil filter, we'll automatically tie it over to the mobile department. It doesn't have to say that specifically, but it would be a little different than your normal lube oil filter change or oil change. Okay. So in this, I'll select, in this case, it's going to be my main department. The customer is going to drop the vehicle off. Here are the same options that we had for the customer to see. We just show them in a pick list here. And we'll say here that the customer in this case is going to request a loaner, because I'll control the loaners when they call into me. And then we go through and we provide here the available times. So a little different, because here we have the exact times, and you'll know they're every 30 minutes. By the way, my system is set up. You can set them up every 15, every 45, every 20, whatever time frame you want to give your team enough time to work with that customer, we can accommodate. If I want to jump to a different date, it's easy enough to click on the date. So we talked about the 19th. I'll click the 19th. Here's what I have available. Remember, Rex is off on the 19th, and he's the advisor. And then we're going to show you the next 7 days. So in this case, I'm going to go ahead and select 9 a.m. Click the next button. Here's a quick review, and I will book. Okay, one thing I neglected to tell you is over here to the right, We do have the text messaging, so you could communicate with the customer. You may ask yourself, if I'm on the phone with them, why am I going to do that? You likely aren't. But the minute they hang up, you may have a question. I can immediately text them without leaving the screen and forgetting and going off to something else. And then the other piece to note here is we have the ability to create a script that your team could follow. And you probably have people that have been there, for a while with you, and you don't have a lot of turnover, like some of the larger stores and the more metropolitan areas may have. And that is a good thing. But when you do have it, or if you have a service cashier that you want to take appointments, it could be really good for someone like that that's not that well versed in talking to a customer. It might be a good tool for them to utilize. So we can help create those as well. In this case, I'm just going to go ahead and hit book and book that appointment. Now I went through that pretty quick. Any questions?